Greetings, one and all. This is the voice of Dr. Linda Ralston. I appreciate your taking some time to review this presentation, which I've entitled, Establishing a Future Direction in Pursuit of Excellence. This is an outgrowth of a MOOC course that I'm taking. MOOC stands for a Massive Open Online Course by Coursera. It's entitled Foundations of Teaching for Learning. It's following a series of lectures designed to help us identify who I am as a teacher and learner. For further information about this presentation and about the MOOC, please see my personal e-portfolio at www.lindaralston.com. You might be asking, why is it important that each teacher has a written teaching philosophy? Well, because what a teacher believes about both teaching and learning can have a major influence on their classroom or learning environment. Teachers tend to implement practices that reflect their philosophical beliefs. Therefore, a well-reasoned personal philosophy can provide a basis for appropriate actions and behaviors in the future. It's important that each and every teacher have a written teaching philosophy that will serve as their guide for making decisions. Why, you might ask? Well, why should I have a teaching philosophy? Because what a teacher believes about both teaching and learning can have a major impact on their classroom or course environment. Teachers tend to implement classroom practices that reflect their philosophical beliefs. Therefore, a well-reasoned personal philosophy can provide a basis for appropriate action. Teaching philosophy has 4 defined values, or what I like to call my cornerstones of my foundation for teaching. The first one, student-centeredness. Second, ignite the fire within, or teaching with passion. And third, active and authentic learning activities. And finally, teacher professional development. I'm going to summarize each of these very briefly in this presentation. The student. The student is our most important resource and therefore my first cornerstone. It's a valuable resource that only needs to be tapped. It is important to recognize that students do not arrive in our courses as an empty vessel. Rather, they bring with them a wealth of experience and a range of ideas that shape how they make sense of the new information I present and construct new knowledge from that. Each student is a complex individual with varying needs, interests, abilities, desires, and career aspirations. Therefore, as a teacher, it is essential that I practice within-itness. I just learned that term, within-itness, from Dr. Francis. It's the ability to understand what's going on in my classroom or in my course, to recognize, as he says, and to predict the patterns of behaviors among the players on the classroom's chessboard. To know all the moves, to distinguish the powerful players from the pawns. Thank you, Dr. Francis, for that great idea. Even though I don't play chess, I will be playing within-itness. So the first thing I must do is know my students. While students are learning about the subject, I will attempt to learn about my students as individuals. Sometimes we think the students arrive in our course seeming a little distant or disengaged. So therefore, it's important that I engage them with questions and discussing what's happening, first of all, in their own lives before I turn over to the topic of the day. This will help forge an open relationship with my students. Thompson said, quote, "The most powerful weapon available to teachers who want to foster a favorable learning climate is a positive relationship with our students." End quote. My classroom or virtual learning environment is shaped in large part by my own values and beliefs. I believe in the constructivist theory of learning, that individual learners construct mental models to understand the world about them. Consistent with this, I strive to provide opportunities for my students to engage in real-world experiences or authentic learning activities. As noted by Dr. Francis, there is great benefit in asking the right questions. As a university professor, I subscribe to the Socratic method of questioning. This helps my students to explore and discover for themselves commonly held truths that shape their opinions and allows them to scrutinize them to determine their consistency with their own lives. One tip that I would like to share with you is the importance of waiting for your students to respond. Kerman explained in 1980 that the amount of time we give to students to answer a question is directly related to the level of positive expectations we have for them. Time is short, so I'm going to move on to the second cornerstone. It's my privilege to be entrusted with the responsibility to light the fire in the hearts of my students. My grandmother often told me that you can lead a horse to water, but if the horse is not thirsty, he cannot be forced to drink it. Students can be led into a classroom. They might be persuaded to buy a book or even read the book. But if they're not interested in the subject matter, they will not learn. Therefore, I think a key role of the instructor is to entice the student to drink of the knowledge, to thirst for more, to share with them a zeal for learning, a dedication to excellence, and a passion that goes along with their expertise. Without that passion, that zeal, we will not awaken our students. This may sound a bit like an oversimplification, but whenever I enter the classroom or begin planning a lesson, I remember that I must first of all share my zeal for learning, my dedication to excellence, and my passion for what I teach in order to ignite the fire within my students. How can I transfer this value to them if I don't visibly show this in how I teach the class? Cornerstone of my teaching philosophy is focused on how we build a relationship between what we're learning and how these concepts are applied within the lives of our students. As we select the learning activities from the learning pyramid, it's important that we try to move away from the traditional tried and true lecture and presentation method and focus more on the use of discussion, exploration, and engaging our students in authentic and real-world experiences that will facilitate opportunities to discover new solutions, apply concepts, and construct knowledge within their own mind. This is a crucial element in helping to foster critical thinking skills. I encourage students to cooperate with their peers to solve problems, examine case studies, conduct research, and when appropriate, teach their own peers regarding the topic of the day. Think of my classroom as a community of learners. It's important to ensure that everyone is involved, whether it's students, faculty, guest speakers, that we all respect each other's ideas, opinions, and contribution in the ever-evolving community of learners. In this regard, I serve as an advisor and facilitator rather than the traditional expert or sage on the stage. I encourage a degree of rebellion and doubt where the textbook is concerned. I want to recognize students who take the time to question traditional thought with new ideas, new solutions. The field I teach in is a dynamic industry where the pace of growth and expansion has outstripped our textbooks. So from a practitioner's viewpoint, I value the ability to think critically and solve problems using one's own common sense. Therefore, I try to reward students for making this leap in understanding the subject matter. Professional development is the final cornerstone of my teaching philosophy. I must continually challenge myself to ensure that I am the best prepared teacher for the benefit of my students. Therefore, I constantly seek to achieve a balance between my work and personal life. I am expanding my horizons through my reading and enrollment in MOOCs in order to engage and exchange ideas with fellow educators from around the world. Consistent with an article I recently read that Dr. Francis recommended on professional learning communities, I plan to organize an inclusive group of people motivated by a shared learning vision, who support and work with each other, finding ways inside and outside their immediate community to inquire of their practice and together learn new and better approaches that will enhance all students' learning through online and hybrid courses in our community of Utah.